Healing is not about perfection, it's about wholeness. Wholeness is very different from perfection. Wholeness means that we have to include the parts of ourselves that we don't like. And the way that we get there is by reconnecting with our own spirit. We're deeply, deeply embedded in our natural environment, and we're part of it. And that isn't really honored or understood in Western medicine. I chose to go to school in public health after being in the Peace Corps. After I graduated from Johns Hopkins, I spent 2 years as a postdoctoral fellow at Princeton University and started learning Chinese. At the same time, I was in this relatively high-pressure graduate school program where I was very, very busy. And I was getting a lot of migraine headaches. I'd gotten migraines really since childhood. They went back to a childhood accident that I'd had that I don't think was ever really properly treated. I think what happens when you have an injury is you develop layers and layers of other things that go on around that. It's like the pearl in the oyster. There's a grain of sand that gets in the oyster, and then around that grain of sand, the pearl forms layers and layers and layers of trying to deal with that original irritant. So our symptoms are like those layers and layers of the pearl. And finally, the migraines were getting to the point where I just couldn't really ignore it anymore, because 3 or 4 times a month I'd be flat on my back for a day and unable to do anything, unable to function. I decided I wanted to go to a private practitioner who did 5-element work. I had heard about 5-element work, but I didn't know very much about it. I knew that it was a more classical, older approach and a more body, mind, spirit oriented approach. So for my own self, for my own healing process, I started going to a 5-element practitioner, and it was profoundly different for me and reached me at a much deeper level. And as soon as I started doing it, I knew that this was what I had to do. It was like the light bulb went on for me. It was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with those needles. It's like something in me knew, I can do this, this is it, I get it. But the migraines were really a message from my body. Every symptom that we have is a message from our body. Our body, mind, and spirit is always going to be doing the best that it can to heal. Our symptoms are like compensation. So the way to really heal is to cut through those layers of the pearl and get back to the original grain of sand. Acupuncture is based on using the meridians of energy that flow through our bodies like rivers. It's actually one big circulatory system of energy that's all interconnected. It's a really different worldview on the body and healing that we get from Chinese medicine. And that's part of what it really has to offer to the West. You can only take someone as far down the road as you've gone yourself. And to really be a healer, you have to walk your own path.